What's up, guys? It's Ben here, coming at you with another retro deck profile. Today we're going to be looking at Adam Korn's Top 4 Shonen Jump Los Angeles Diva Zombie. This event was heavily populated with zombies as well as different Lightsworn and Twilight variants. So let's get right into the list. We have our Searcher with our 2 Goblin Zombies. This is when it's destroyed, when you synchro with it, anytime it basically leaves the field and hits the graveyard, you get to go add pretty much any, you can add any zombie in your deck. It's 2,000 defense or 1,200 defense or less, but this covers the entire zombie lineup. We have our 2 Mezuki, our graveyard recursion. This is kind of what we do to make our plays live. We banish this and we summon another one from our graveyard, another zombie. A lot of times we get our Goblin Zombies here to continue our synchro plays. For establishing board presence, we have the 1 Zombie Master. And then for our tuner, we have 1 Plaguespreader, great recursion tuner, top deck, and then summon it from the graveyard, so you get 2 uses out of it. If you normal summon, you can also discard it and be able to use it that way. We have our 1 Spirit Reaper, the only level 3 really, so we want to be able to have a level 3 non-tuner to make our 5, and then we want to be able to pick cards out of our opponent's hand. Really good card to stall on as well. And then the last zombie we have is 1 Pyramid Turtle to go ahead and get some zombies from our deck. Alright, so this is Diva Zombie. So we have our 2 Deep Sea Diva. This is a really interesting card. Essentially, you have to kind of see the extra deck for this to make full sense, but you can make 6s and 8s with this by summoning 1, getting the other copy, and then using making a 6, and then using the other Diva to make an 8, and that was really the big play with that. We have, as another tuner, we also have our 1 Gale, the Stardust Killer, as they say. We have some floaters here. We have 2 Mystic Tomato and 1 Sangan. Sangan searches a lot of the deck out, and then Tomato you can get a lot of your darks, especially like Goblin Zombie, things like that. Unfortunately, Pyramid Turtle, Mezuki, those are Earths, so you can't go for those, but it does have plenty of targets. And because we have tomatoes and things like that to float, we have double Caius. This card was really good at banishing if they were going to set a tomato, or if they were going to summon a tomato, or like get a Spirit Reaper or things like that. A lot of times the 1,000 damage you could inflict that because there's a lot of darks, hit Sangans, things like that. You can even use this card to clear back row, so another interesting application for Caius. And then we have a couple more big boss monsters. We have our 1 Dark Armed. We can level manipulate this pretty easily with things like Plaguespreader and Mezuki and Burial and things like that to kind of manipulate our game to make sure this is live later on in the game. 1 Gorz and 1 Tragoedia. Next, we'll get on to the spells here. We have 2 Book of Life, great card to recur zombies, and the removing was really relevant in the Lightsworn and the Mirror Match, which were the 2, obviously the best decks, so you could remove their Mezukis or their Plaguespreader, or like their good targets for Zombie Master, or you could remove a name if they were getting close to 4 names. You can remove a unique name that they played only like a 1 of to make sure that they didn't get more names in the graveyard. And then also to manipulate our graveyard, we have 1 Burial. The really cool thing was late game, if you had both Mezukis, you would go Mezuki, Burial, and then Mezuki again. Or Mezuki Plague even, if you had the absolute nuts. But this is a great card for putting your grave back to normal and being able to reuse all of your stuff that requires being in the graveyard. Another card that causes stuff to get banished to put in there, we have our double Allure of Darkness to dig through our deck. We play plenty of dark, so this is pretty live. We have 1 Brain and 1 Mind. Brain is really good for our Caiuses, and Mind is obviously really good. Both are really good for synchro plays. And then we have our 1 Enemy Controller. You could use this to just stop an attack to change for defense, but another thing you could do is you could use this with your Goblin Zombies to take stuff to keep your opponent from synchro summoning. So if your opponent had a tuner, non-tuner on board, you could econ, tribute your monster, whether it be like a Mezuki or a Goblin Zombie or like a set Plague or something like that, and then get set up for next turn and then keep them from synchro summoning. So that was always kind of cool. And if you're playing any type. I guess formula wasn't really a thing at that time. There's no, but like yeah, you couldn't really have that interaction. But there's a lot of really cool stuff you could do with Econ. For protection to make sure our plays go off, we do have one My Body as a shield, and then some more staple stuff. We have our Double Book, our Heavy Storm, and our one Limited Space. And onto the traps, because space was limited, we have our one Dust. To gain valuable information, this card is absolutely insane. We have our one Trap Dustshoot. Hand sizes, because of the Goblin Zombies and things like that, were fairly large outside of turn 1, so this card wasn't just like, oh, you open it and it's only good there. This card was good later on in the game. 2 Bottomless. This card just got semi-limited on the September 09 list. Our 1 TT. Because we have a couple cards we don't mind discarding, we have our 1 Wing Blast. This card is really good. Being able to kind of, if your opponent has that going for that synchro play where they have that tuner, non-tuner, and rather than, like bouncing it back to your hand with something like Compulse, you can make them top deck it and waste their turn to summon it. So like, if you're putting your opponent back a turn to make them draw Plaguespreader or something like that, it is really good. We have our 1 Mirror Force. And then the last trap is the 1 Solemn Judgment that was just limited. And on to the extra deck here. We have our Gorz token. It's a little bit of a throwback to old deck profiles that would always show their tokens back in the day for some reason. So I figured, why not do that? 1 Catastor. This is our only 5 in the extra deck. Really good against, if you were able to survive against Judgment Dragon, just to be like, run over Judgment Dragon and not have to worry about Honest. This card was so good to not have to deal with Honest and Lightsworns. For 6s, we have 1 Goyo. Alright, so this is where the Diva really comes into play. 3 Brio. So what you would do is, if you had a 4 on board, or if you had Mezuki for a 4, or something like that, you would, Mezuki for, like, say, Goblin Zombie, normal summon Diva. Sync 6 for Brionic, search your Mezuki, and then you could just discard it off this Brio. You could essentially clear your opponent's whole board by discarding cards, and you would always get an extra card because of the Goblin Zombie if you were using that to synchro summon. And then you would use the other Diva to make an 8, so your opponent would have basically no board, and they would be stuck looking at like a Stardust or a Thought Ruler. So basically, based on what you put back in their hand, you'd kind of know what they had in their hand. So you could put the cards back in their hand, and then you could make a level 8 that was appropriate. So if they had like something that would be destroyed by battle, you can make Colossal Fighter to keep bringing it back. If you knew they had something that would be like a destruction effect, you could do Stardust. Or if you knew they had Gale, you could do Thought Ruler because that wouldn't be able to beat over it. And just all those kind of interesting things. So we have 1 Revived King because this card was awesome in the mirror. The fact that you could destroy turtles, tomatoes, things like that, and then yeah, they wouldn't resolve. We have 2 Doomkaiser because the mirror was so relevant. This card was so good in the mirror. The ability to just take your opponent's cards, take their Plague, take their Mezukis in their graveyard, and keep them from playing on their turn to counter this card was really good. For 7s, we have 1 Black Rose, and then because we play 1 Gale, we have 1 Armor Master. And then for 8s, like I said, we have a lot of 8s because we have that Diva play to essentially clear their board with one of our 3 Brionics, and then make either our double Stardust, our Thought Ruler, our Red Dragon, or Colossal Fighter. So this is kind of the crux of the deck, the interesting kind of a fun format. This deck is really fun, and it's a really good alternative if you're just kind of tired of like, if you're playing this format and you're just tired of Lightsworn mirrors, this is a really cool deck to bring out. You can also play Zombie Sworn, which is pretty interesting. But let me know what you think of the deck, and subscribe for more retro format content. Thanks for watching, guys.